cost of fuel going up and down all over the place. So what is being suggested here is that we would decrease the heating budget by $10,000, hope for the best, and if need be, if we got into tough times, we would appeal to that reserve account. That's what we believe is happening on the town side.
We don't know if that account's going to be there next year. I'm not so sure it's going to be.
I'd be more inclined to vote for that tonight than I would have a few meetings ago.
I know.
Yeah, right, now that it's warm in here. Yeah.
So that's number 16. Number 17, this is to reduce the security system service contract. The committee is aware that we have installed at the high school and the middle school and at the bachelor's school new security and safety systems with the digital cameras and so forth, the door contacts, and we're in the process of doing this, bringing actually the hood school and the little school up to the same level. And we have set aside in the FY10 budget, we need contracts, service contracts for these. However, I think the feeling is that because we're in the first year of this system, that it should fall underneath warranties, and therefore we feel somewhat comfortable for 1 year to be reducing the overall projected cost of those service contracts. And so that would reduce $6,500. So I think it's about 50%.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, item number 18. After considerable research, my assistant Ann Lundell and administrative assistant Ann Lundell and Carl have researched using software to process literally the hundreds of applications that are coming in. I mean, when you think about every time we post one position, it's not unusual to get several hundred applications. To be able to manage those effectively, we have moved to a software service to do this. They will take care of all the postings. So people will now be applying online.
So we'll still take paper applications, but we'll hope that
we're no longer taking paper applications.
Everything has to be
Anyone
online.
who submits a paper application will be given a card to School Spring and said go online, and,
Okay.
and it's tremendous,
Right.
the resources. It's not just applications and resumes, but references, everything that is there. And it allows us to track it. We can, instead of making hundreds of calls to see if people are still interested, we can manipulate this very well. So it's really a boost to our human resources, which you're really looking at the human resource department right here, but as well as with the principals. However, every time we put an ad in the paper, the little ad, it's probably around $2,500. And so what we're suggesting is with this new system, we will reduce the number of times that we have to advertise independently in the Boston Globe or other places. So that's where the $2,500 comes from. We feel comfortable in doing that. Item number 19. Again, I'm sure this will be up for discussion if there is additional money. It's certainly not my recommendation to drop the length of the student year, but we did so this year given the budget issues, and we have so far approved a calendar that would go from 182 student days to 180 days. So item number 19 reflects what we would save in busing. It's about $2,500 a day, and so this reflects, if we stay with a reduced drop in 2 days, would save 5,000 in transportation. And then lastly, item number 20. Traditionally, in the budget, we carry an unemployment cost, and I think that is on page 28. So, for example, in FY09, FY08, we carried 98,000 in unemployment. And I believe we used substantially less than that, so that in FY09, we reduced that amount to 40,000. And we just carried it forward into FY10. So again, we're recommending on the budget line, not, as you can see on the recap, there's an additional, if we do end up letting people go because of budget issues, we have carried an additional, let's see if I can find it here, an additional $282,000. So we feel that we can drop our regular unemployment from $40,000 to $30,000 in the budget.
To show you how volatile all that is, those cuts that you just
We're
mentioned,
offset by that.
half of those cuts were offset by that one student going to benefit.
More than half.
More than half.
Right. So that is the explanation for the additional items 13 through 21. And I think out of that list, number 15 is, it should be approved, just to reflect the accuracy of the budget.
I think most of these make sense.
Mel, I'm going to make a motion that the committee approve items 13 through 21 as outlined in level 1 reductions.
What about 19?
What is this?
See, I don't support a motion tonight, so.
You know what?
Why should we approve these when we're going to get money? I just don't.
You know what? I think we need to move towards the budget number, and if we get money, we can change the course of action, but we really do have a number to be moving toward.
But we don't have to have that for several weeks. So I won't
But-
support it. Well, we don't have a second yet, so.
All right. And the reason why I included the reduction of busing for 2 days, because the other things have already been reduced. I think we took out the paraprofessional, and any other related reductions.
Right.
That goes towards the calendar that's been approved. I think this one probably should have been in that original outline. And certainly I'd be willing to consider adding 2 days back to the calendar, but until we have a different direction, I think these are palatable cuts. I think the next round is where I'll put it.
I'll second that motion. Further discussion and contemplation of this being the number we're working with right now, so.
Yeah, I won't support it. We're gonna get the money, and I just don't see the sense of going through the process of cutting and then adding back.
Well, you necessarily
don't-
don't be able to add back. I mean,
We don't need to come up with a budget until at least probably a month, or probably more than a month from now. And I just don't see any need in rushing to approve these cuts when I feel we're gonna be able to add most of them back.
But are you suggesting that we're gonna get enough money, or optimistic enough to get enough money to
Yes.
not have to make any of these cuts?
Mhm.
I
I'm
think,
not sure I share your optimism, at least as to these
Absolutely.
particular cuts.
I think, Mel, you're right that there's some of these we would reconsider, but most of them, like the human resources ads going online, that makes sense. Reducing the unemployment budget.
Certainly number 15 is a correction, that's a technical thing.
Yeah.
But why would we reduce summer painting when David's saying we're gonna go out to volunteers? I understand the
Yeah.
effort, but that doesn't make any
I
sense to me.
think we could add back those items. If we got the money and we would put them in a priority order for adding back, that would be a consideration. But then we have so many things we might want to add back, that the summer painting and volunteer idea is something to leave out.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving items 13 through I guess 21, right? We have to,
And we actually need to update item number 21.
to 30,000.
Carl and I have not, the number that's here was the first number that I saw, and then I did not include the transportation in there. It might be best to take the same number from last year.
Whatever the cost would be.
Yeah, that's, yeah, well, see, I believe it's at least 20,000 for tuition.
Yeah, I made a motion for the items 13 through 21,
Okay.
not a dollar.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Did you say no too? 3-2. In favor.
Carl, can you tell us what the gap is now?
Yes, well, let's assume for a minute that number 21 is as shown before we make that
Okay.
necessary adjustment. The gap is shown at the budget recap, down at the bottom of the budget recap, at 964,561.
So that's after all the level 1 cuts?
Yes, that includes making the level 1 cuts through 21. Did I misunderstand your question?
No,
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
And again, I would, it's probably safe to say that an additional 14,000 would be added to that to reflect the accurate number 21. So if you increase the gap, you would increase the gap by another 14,000. So basically, it's $1 million.
I get $1 million unassigned reduction, sounds nice, doesn't it?
It's those unassigned reductions that keep the business manager up at night.
So again, I'm going to ask the question, and I know my colleagues, I guess, don't like my line of questioning tonight, but we're going to go over these level 2 reductions. I'm hoping we don't take a
No.
vote on them, because I don't believe most of them are going to have to be made. So do we want to just, you want to just tell us why or how you set the priorities for these? No?
Especially if we don't
Good,
have
that's
to
fine
do
with
it
me.
anyhow.
Don't, I mean, my,
No, I'm trying to make a distinction on the level 1 and level 2. It's a priority thing. I mean, you look at the level 2 cuts, obviously they're level 2 for a reason. They come after
Right.
in priority, they come after the level 1. So
Right.
if you're saying to me we're going to get more than 964,000, if we do, I'd rather restore some of these other things than the ones we just voted on.
Yeah,
I just think we.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, I don't know, I just don't, I'm not approving any more cuts until we find out what the money we have.
I
that's
I
just
just
my.
think these are fairly basic right now, and I don't envision us getting enough money to go forward on a complete level services budget right now.
So level 2 reductions come to $1,081,000. And David has broken them down into a couple of subgroups. I tend to agree with Mel, there's nothing in this group that I'm gonna support cutting at this point.
it's just, it's all very confusing with this funding, and some of it is for 1 year, and some of it is supposed to be spread over 3 years, and nobody knows exactly how much it's going to be. But, I mean, I think we should go ahead and look at making some reductions. That's why I voted for Maureen's motion, because I can't imagine us getting the full amount that'll make up the budget gap.
Just so everybody knows, the level 2 cuts are almost entirely reducing staffing.
It is.
In addition to reducing staffing, increasing user fees by $200,000. So again, those are things that I think we're all inclined right now not to vote on,
Right.
because those would be priorities as far as maintaining.
Yes, and even to the extent that level 3 reductions are still on the table, that's half of our $1 million hole. So,
I guess I just, I'm trying to find the right phrase to describe what we're